What's going on, your boy Yo Scruggs? Out here enjoying finally a good day of weather in New York. Anyway, let's get to the situation at hand. It finally went down. It's official. Ben Simmons has been traded from the Sixers, and Mr. James Harden has been traded from the Brooklyn Nets. For those that haven't been following, real quick, Ben Simmons is what we call a BITCH, and he was scared to play in Philly because he was coming up short, literally. Like, he wasn't stepping up to the plate and shooting the ball, scared to go to the foul line. And when his coach and the best player on the team, Embiid, somewhat called him out, didn't even call him out on it, just made a point to say, all right, that was part of the problem. Just like they took blame for themselves as well. It was all part of the problem. But when you're Ben Simmons, you have $170 million contract, number one pick in the draft, and you're supposed to be this person that's the part of the process, as they call it. And you scared. I mean, plain and simple. I know there's people out there that defend Ben Simmons. Oh, Philly fans are too tough on him. Look, I agree. Philly fans can be tough, but it's tough love. And if you give effort, we will ride with you, even if you're not that great, even if you're struggling. Take somebody like a player that most of y'all probably never even heard of, called named McConnell, who used to be a point guard on the Sixers. Dude about 5'10", one drafted, free agent, not the most talented person, but he played his heart out, and that's why the city really took him under the wing. It was like, we could work with that, as opposed to somebody like Ben Simmons, who's blessed with being 6'10", muscles, speed, number one pick in the draft, giving all that money, and you scared. You can't, in some cities, maybe you get away with that, but in Philly, one thing you can't get away with is being scared of the big moment. And then to make matters worse, he was scared of the big moment, and then he punked out and said, I'm not going to even play here no more because I just can't take the criticism. I can't take the fans. It's just too much for me. All right, all good. James Harden, I don't know his situation as much. I know he was in Houston. He didn't want to be in Houston no more. He didn't like the direction the team was going. Daryl Morey, who was the team's GM in Houston, he left. And that was Harden's guy. So he wanted out of there. He got to Brooklyn. I don't know exactly what happened in Brooklyn. A lot of different theories out there that he was tired of the whole Kyrie Irving situation, not wanting to get vaccinated and only playing half the games. I don't know what else was going on with the vibe. He said he didn't like Brooklyn. I live in Brooklyn now. I'm not a go out to the club party dude, but it's New York. Even if you ain't in Brooklyn, you just go to you just go to Manhattan or Queens or whatever. There's plenty of places to party. So I don't exactly get that, or maybe it just wasn't his style of partying. I hope he's not expecting that Philly, because me being from Philly, there's no comparison as far as if you're trying to go on the party scene and clubbing and all that stuff. There's no comparison between Philly and New York. I mean, New York is New York. There's a few cities like that: New York, LA, Vegas. I guess you could throw Atlanta in there as places where you could really come in and have a high-level social party scene. So be that as it may, we had two disgruntled players, two players that didn't want to play for the teams they were on for two different reasons. It had been trade speculation going on, mostly with Ben Simmons, because we knew for a fact he wasn't going. Well, I knew for a fact, most people knew for a fact, he wasn't going to play for the Sixers ever again. Harden, it was a little more up and down. But I think Brooklyn knew at the end of the year Harden was going to leave, and everybody knew he wanted to come to Philly because that's what Daryl Morey is, and that's his right-hand man. So the trade went down yesterday. Brooklyn gets Ben Simmons. Brooklyn gets Steph Curry, brother of Steph Curry, not to get them confused. And Brooklyn also got 2 first-round draft picks. One is protected, and they also got Andre Drummond. And I think that's a dope trade for Brooklyn. They got a lot for Harden. Considering they gave up a lot for Harden. I think they gave up a bunch of draft picks to get Harden. So considering that, it's a good trade for Brooklyn, but it's also a good trade for Philly, because Embiid, like most of us think, because of his injury history, even though it's been better this year, that maybe his window of being a great player, maybe being, top 3 player in the league right now, in my opinion, maybe that window was short, and they had to get another superstar to go along with him. And James Harden happened to be the person that was ready to go. A lot of us wanted Dame Lillard instead, but we also wanted James Harden as well. Now, the issue with James Harden, a lot of us are saying is, he's up there in age. He's been a very durable player until recently, But we don't know if his durability this year is more based on him basically saying, I don't want to play no more, so I'm going to say my hamstring acting up, or if he's really injured. Most of us think he's not really that injured, and it was just more of an excuse not to play because he didn't want to be in Brooklyn. Same thing we feel like with Ben Simmons. It's not that he's really experiencing mental health issues. He just didn't want to play in Philly, and he wasn't going to play. So the trade is going down. Some people say that, of course, if you listen to Philly people, most Philly people say Sixers want to trade. If you listen to most Nets fans, they'll say the Nets want to trade. But here's the thing. Born and raised in Philly, we die hard to the core when it comes to sports. All 4 teams. It's a little different in New York. New York is die hard Knicks, die hard Yankees, and die hard Rangers to a certain lesser extent. Nobody in Brooklyn cares about the Nets. I remember when they got Durant going into work and going around town like, yo, y'all got Durant, that's crazy. And people like, yeah, I heard we got Durant. Nobody cares. New York cares about the Knicks. Maybe most of the Nets fans are still in Jersey, I don't know. But far as Brooklyn, and this Brooklyn ain't even the old Brooklyn. There's so many people here that's not even from Brooklyn, not from New York, and they still rooting for the team. Like me, they still rooting for their hometown team. So the Nets really don't have a strong fan base. That probably works in Ben Simmons' favor. It'll be less pressure on him, I think. Harden, it's going to be pressure on him too. And I think Harden knows he's coming to the end of his prime. If he's probably slightly past his prime. So if he wants to win a championship, he's been knocking at the doorstep for years. This is another great player. He got Embiid in his prime. We'll see. Pressure is also on our coach, Doc Rivers, who's come up short a lot of times since he won the championship back in the day with Boston. So there's a lot of pressure on a lot of people. We won't know who won the trade for real till 2-3 years from now when we see how it all plays out. But the deal is done. The season will move on. What makes this even more interesting is that Brooklyn and Philly are in the same division, so they're gonna have to play each other every year. You know, I think they play 4 or 5 times a year. Ben Simmons is gonna have to come back to Philly and play, which is gonna be a huge thing. I don't even know if he's gonna play in Philly this year. He's probably gonna find an excuse not to. Harden's gonna have to go back to the Brooklyn and play, which I don't think is as big of a deal because he was only there for basically a season and a half. But what's going to be more interesting is if they meet in the playoffs. And I think the advantage the Sixers have in the playoffs is we know Ben Simmons is mentally weak. We know if we go to hack up Ben and send him to the foul line, it's a wrap. He going to fold like a Philly soft pretzel. So we'll see what happens. Now, granted, I still think Brooklyn has the advantage because they have Kevin Durant. And if Kevin Durant is healthy, he's clearly the best player out of both teams. So that's the advantage Brooklyn has. So we'll see what happens, how it goes down. Leave a comment. Please subscribe, hit the like button, let me know what you think. Ben Simmons, James Harden, the trade is official. Your boy Yo Scruggs, reporting live from, I'm not even in Brooklyn right now, I'm actually in Manhattan. But we're going to see how it go. Just when I thought I was away from Ben Simmons, he gets straight into the place I live anyway. He goes from my hometown team to my current hometown. How about that? Your boy Yo Scruggs, holla at me.